So my name is Josh Whiteside. I'm the executive director at an organization called the Education Partnership. Most of the viewers here, unless they're in our southwestern PA service area, they're probably unaware of what we do. So let me take a second to address that. We are a surplus redistribution organization. Our mission is to provide school and classroom resources for teachers and students in under-resourced schools in southwestern PA. What I mean by under-resourced schools is any school in our service area that has minimally a 70% student body that is eligible for the National School Lunch Program can apply to be part of our program and receive product from our organization that we procure nationwide. When you look at our 7-county service area in southwestern PA, when I'm talking about only schools that meet that 70% or greater threshold of students enrolled in the National School Lunch Program, there's about 250 of them. Currently, the Education Partnership is partnered with 139 of those schools. So there's a lot of work still to be done, but right now the Education Partnership is able to put resources into the hands of about 4,500 teachers and through them about 55,000 students. So to answer your question earlier, George, about I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing if your wife is a teacher, I can assure you that it is overwhelmingly a good thing that your wife is a teacher. The teaching profession as a whole, I think as a society, we've probably undervalued that position. And I think a lot of what we can do right now is be a voice for teachers, stand up for them, make sure that they understand, that we understand the difficulties that they're facing right now. And that's not to say that everyone isn't facing difficulties, but I think teachers have really been faced with an enormous task of pivoting the education of our youth into a remote setting. And there's a lot of weeds that go along with that. The Education Partnership, we operate 3 main programs. I don't want to get too much into the weeds, but when I say school supplies, it's all of the basic needs that students have. So it's pens, pencils, crayons, but it's a lot of things that schools need as well that often don't make the budget. So it's new desks, new office furniture, home goods to make the classroom fun, engaging, comfortable. It's custodial supplies, it's hygiene items. Really, it's anything that it's going to take to run a school. And then lastly, we now have a high-tech STEAM lending library where we can lend out high-tech resources for our schools. I think what we're seeing now with the COVID pandemic is this focus on the digital divide, and I'm sure we're going to get some good questions about that. And yes, that is an enormous hurdle for low-income schools. But I think when you're talking about the population of primary school students, elementary school students, you know, I think the conversation still needs to be about those basic school supplies and not quite the iPads and the Chromebooks. So we're trying to address the issues from both sides of that spectrum. But right now, the Education Partnership is able to support those 55,000 students. We're much smaller than a lot of my peers here on the call. This year, we'll support to the tune of about $6 million worth of product. A majority of that comes donated from partners, but then we do our own purchasing when we're able to as well.
There are those that have more of an inclination to help in a rural area with schools. I'm imagining, Josh, that you could see the need for, you mentioned the supplies. Gift cards would be helpful likewise to you, sir? What would be the best way for an individual to help you, Josh?
So I think there's a couple ways that you can help support us either directly or indirectly. There's some really easy ways. I know everyone's facing some issues right now, but I would say the easiest way that you could support us would be to support the teachers in the area right now. You know, kind of what I said before, let's practice an extra level of patience, a level of compassion, some understanding, and let's make sure that we're doing everything we can just to let teachers know that we recognize the difficulties that they're facing. I would say from a macro level, another very easy non-expense thing to do would be to let your legislators know that education funding cannot be a shortfall of this entire circumstance. I'm sure that this is going to affect the state budget. People smarter than me are estimating somewhere between $500 million, up to $3-4 billion of shortfall. It's imperative that we're communicating out to legislators. Legislators, if you are in the room right now, it's imperative that we're not cutting education. It's only going to exacerbate an already extreme problem we have going on. I would say, third, if people are looking to directly support, yes, gift cards are a wonderful resource, but I would actually even say if you're going to support a cause like the Education Partnership, I would say cash is king. It really is. We don't turn away any donation. Pencils are wonderful. Notebooks, binders, all of that is extremely useful. I always say, I wish people thought about school and office supplies the way that they thought about clothing. Whenever they are cleaning out their closets every spring, no one would ever say, I'm just going to throw all my clothes away. They donate them. I would encourage people to think that same way whenever they are cleaning out their offices or whatnot.
Well, Josh, just to stay with that, because again, we're looking at the opportunity for an individual to make a donation. We're looking at small businesses that are partnered with the likes of the energy industry. I mean, we're blessed that folks like Williams have set aside $1 million to the effort. But we're trying to come in that low end also to make certain that, an engineering firm still has the opportunity. And what we've seen is, and again, I shared with you that my wife's a teacher, this idea of supplies. You hit it on its head. Pencils, paper, things that may not be being utilized today in your office because you may not be working, but as packets get made and get delivered, there's a run on paper. So again, we're trying to show things that are easy. Of course, we love the fact that Williams had come in at $1 million to help at this time, but that's that goal for companies to think about, wait a minute, I may have an extra ream of paper here that I could donate.
Yeah, and let me just say how much I appreciate the work being done by the nonprofit sector right now. And then our for-profit allies like Cabot here, really making sure that our message is heard. Donor dollars right now, I think everyone in the nonprofit sector is scared of what the next 3 months, 6 months, year looks like in terms of foundation funding, individual donor giving, event revenue, business sponsorship. I think right now, for those people that have the ability to give, please, now is the time to do so. Nonprofits have been awesome at collaborating seemingly overnight to increase efficiency in our models that already are stretched thin, but dollars right now are super, super valuable. For anyone that's into school supplies, you can donate to the Education Partnership right now on your phone. Text the word pencil to 41444. Again, that's the word pencil to 41444. And that'll go 100% to the Education Partnership and making sure that we can provide school supplies for all of our students here.
Josh, you ended on probably the best note, because what I want to make certain is that everyone from an individual standpoint to an owner of a company or a member of a corporation could figure out where they play in this role. And it may be very simple, just taking that phone out and texting pencil.